I always thought cats came and went as they pleased. Stray cats, lost pets, curious wanderers, they show up, they leave, they don't belong to anyone. But then a black cat started showing up at my door, and I realized it wasn't trying to leave. It was waiting for me to let it in. It started with scratching at my back door. Soft at first, barely noticeable. Then a low meow. I looked outside. Sitting on the back porch, perfectly still, was a black cat. Green eyes, thin frame, its tail wrapped neatly around its paws. I'd never seen it before, but something about it felt familiar. I opened the door. It didn't move, didn't step forward, didn't run away, just stared. "You lost, buddy?" I asked. It tilted its head, and then it smiled. Not a real smile, not a cat smile. Its mouth stretched too wide, and then, just as quickly, it returned to normal, like I'd imagined it. I shut the door. I should have walked away, but I didn't. I watched through the window as it sat there, waiting, for hours. That night, I heard it again, scratching, inside the house. I sat up so fast my heart nearly burst out of my chest. My bedroom door was open. I always closed my bedroom door, and at the foot of my bed, the cat sat there, waiting. I don't remember how I fell asleep, but by morning it was gone. I checked every room, every door, every window. No way in, no way out, and yet black fur clung to my sheets. The next night I locked everything. Doors, windows, even the closet. I set my phone on my nightstand, flashlight ready. But when I woke up at 3:12 a.m., the cat was sitting on my chest, staring, purring. I couldn't breathe. My body felt heavy, wrong. I tried to move, but I couldn't. The purring grew louder, rumbling, shaking the walls. I forced my fingers to move, reaching for my phone. The second my light turned on, the cat was gone. But the weight on my chest, still there. I didn't sleep after that. I stayed awake until sunrise. And when I checked my phone, my stomach dropped. A photo, taken at 3:12 a.m. It was me, asleep, with two green eyes watching from the darkness. I moved out a week later, left everything behind. But sometimes in my new apartment I wake up to a faint scratching at the door. Soft at first, barely noticeable. Then a meow. And I know it found me again.
Alright, so you wake up in a dark, grimy room. Your head is pounding, your wrists are shackled to something cold and rusty, and there's a weird taste of blood in your mouth. You blink, trying to focus, and then you hear it. A static buzz followed by that god-awful voice. "Hello, I want to play a game." And just like that, congratulations, you're in a saw trap. The good news, you're still breathing. The bad news, you probably won't be for long, unless you keep your head on straight and play your cards right. Lucky for you, I've seen enough of these death traps to give you some solid advice, so listen up. Step 1 is don't freak out. Easier said than done, but do it anyway. I get it. Your heart is slamming against your ribs, your hands are shaking, and every single nerve in your body is screaming at you to panic. But listen, panicking gets you killed. You need to force yourself to take a breath. Slow, deep, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The more you freak out, the more time you waste. and time is not something you have a lot of. Step 2, look around and fast. Jigsaw is a sick bastard, but he's got rules. And rule number 1, every trap has a way out. That means there's something in this room, a key, a tool, or a clue, that you need to find and fast. Check your body first. You'd be surprised how many people sit there, crying while the key to their shackles is literally taped to their leg. If there's a tape recorder, listen very carefully. Jigsaw doesn't just give instructions, he gives hints. If he says the key is inside you, well, you better start feeling around for a lump. Step 3. Pain is temporary, but death is forever. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. If you want to get out, you're probably gonna have to do something awful to yourself. Maybe it's cutting into your own skin, maybe it's breaking a bone, maybe it's even worse. But listen, pain fades. If you hesitate, if you try to take the easy way out, you're dead. Saw traps don't reward cowardice. So if you've got to do something horrible, do it fast and don't stop to think about it. Step 4, trust no one, but don't be stupid about it either. If there are other people in the room, you need to make a quick judgment call. Are they useful or are they dead weight? Some people will work with you, others will stab you in the back the first chance they get. And then there's the worst kind, the ones who think they can outsmart the game. These are the guys who try to break the rules, and 9 times out of 10 they end up getting everyone killed. So watch closely. If someone seems too calm, they might know something you don't. Or worse, they might be in on it. Step 5. If it looks easy, it's a trap. Always. Jigsaw's a master of misdirection. If you see an open door, a big red button, or a key just sitting there in the middle of the room, don't be an idiot. There's probably a tripwire, a hidden blade, or a shotgun aimed right at your face. The right choice is almost never the obvious one. Stop, think, and look for the real way out. Tip number 6. You're on a timer. Move fast, but not reckless. Most saw traps have a countdown. That ticking clock isn't just for show. You have minutes, maybe seconds, to figure out what to do before everything goes south. You don't have time to hesitate, but you also don't have time to make dumb mistakes. If there's a puzzle, focus. If you need to cut something off, take a deep breath, do it, and move on. Your past matters. This is tip number 7. Jigsaw knows your sins. Jigsaw doesn't pick people at random. If you're here, it's because he thinks you deserve it. Maybe you're a cheater, a liar, an addict, or worse. Whatever it is, your trap is tailored to you. Think about why you're here. Sometimes the answer to your escape is hidden in the reason you were chosen. If your game is about greed, maybe you need to let something go. If it's about lies, maybe the truth will set you free. Literally. Tip number 8. Don't try to outsmart the game. Look, I get it. You think you're smarter than Jigsaw. You think you can break his rules. You can't. He's planned for every single move you could make. If you try to take a shortcut, you will end up with your head blown off, your limbs ripped apart, or worse. Play by the rules. They suck, but they're the only thing keeping you alive. Tip number 9. If you survive, run and never look back. If, by some miracle, you make it out of a saw trap, don't get cocky. Jigsaw doesn't let just anyone go. If you passed his test, that means he thinks you've changed. That means he might leave you alone, unless you go back to your old ways. If you're smart, you'll disappear. Lay low, change your name, your habits, your whole life if you have to. Because if you end up in another game, you won't be so lucky next time. So, there you have it. Your best shot at making it out of a saw trap alive. If you ever find yourself in one, well, good luck. You're gonna need it. And if you don't make it, hey, at least you tried, right?
I always wanted a pet, a loyal companion, a dog that would greet me at the door, follow me around, and curl up beside me at night. But the one I got wasn't supposed to be here. It started with scratching. Late at night, just as I was about to fall asleep, I'd hear its soft, persistent scratching inside the walls. At first, I thought it was mice, or maybe a squirrel that had gotten stuck in the vents. But then I heard it whimpering, like a dog. I didn't own a dog, but something inside the walls did. One night I pressed my ear against the drywall. It's okay. I froze. Someone was whispering to it. Inside my house. I told my landlord. He laughed. Must be a pipe. Old houses make weird sounds. But that night, as I lay in bed, I heard footsteps, small, padded, moving inside the walls. The dog was getting bigger. I set out food. I didn't know why. Maybe because the whimpering sounded hungry. The next morning, the bowl was empty. But the food hadn't been eaten. It was gone. Like something had reached out, taken it, and brought it back inside the walls. Then, one night, the scratching stopped. I should have felt relieved. But I didn't. Because now, instead of scratching, I heard breathing. A week later, I woke up to something nudging my hand. For a split second, I thought it was normal. That I had always had a dog, that this was just my pet waking me up. Then my brain caught up. I didn't have a dog. My breath hitched. My fingers curled. The fur beneath my hand was too wiry, too thick. Slowly I turned my head and saw two gleaming eyes staring up at me from the darkness. It was a dog, but its legs were too long, its mouth too wide, and its tail split at the end like fingers. I screamed. The thing darted back into the walls. I heard it skittering through the vents, moving fast, knocking over furniture inside the walls like a rat in a maze. Then silence. I packed my bags. I called my landlord. Sell the place. Burn it down. I don't care. And I left. That was 3 months ago. But last night I heard scratching. Not inside the walls. At my front door. I looked through the peephole. And there it was. Sitting. Waiting. Wagging its tail. It had followed me. And this time it wanted in.
I always thought monsters under the bed were just childhood fears. The kind of thing you grow out of. The kind of thing that isn't real. But last night, I dropped my phone, and when I reached under my bed to grab it, someone else handed it to me. I froze. My fingers touched something cold. Not my phone, not the floor. Skin. I yanked my hand back and rolled off the bed, heart pounding, hands shaking. I grabbed my flashlight, aiming it at the narrow gap beneath my bed. Nothing. Just dust and shadows. I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe it was my brain playing tricks on me. But when I picked up my phone, the screen was already unlocked, and a new message was opened from an unknown number. You almost saw me. I didn't sleep. I checked under the bed 5 times before finally convincing myself it was just a nightmare. But the next morning I noticed something worse. The closet door was open, just an inch, and I never leave it open. That night I shoved my dresser in front of the closet, double-checked under the bed, locked my bedroom door. I even left a line of salt on the floor, just in case. I wasn't taking chances, but at exactly midnight I woke up to the sound of breathing right next to my ear. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I just lay there, listening. It was slow, deep, like someone was lying next to me. And then the whisper, "You saw me this time." I bolted upright, turned on every light in my room. My closet door was wide open. The salt on the floor was undisturbed. But something was different. The mirror on my dresser, there was a handprint on the glass. Too long, too thin, like someone had been watching me from inside it. I tried to leave. I grabbed my keys, ran to the door, and stopped dead, because under my bed, I could see two pale, bony hands pressed against the floor, waiting. I don't sleep anymore. I don't turn off the lights, and I never reach under my bed. Because last night I checked under my phone, and there was another message. I'm getting closer.
I always thought fog was just weather. A misty morning, a low-hanging cloud, nothing sinister. But then I walked through the wrong kind of fog, and I realized something was in it. It started last week. The fog rolled in thicker than usual, swallowing the streets, muffling the sounds of the city. People joked about it. Feels like Silent Hill out here, my coworker laughed. But by the next morning, people started going missing. I didn't think much of it at first. Cities have crime. People disappear, it happens. But then, I noticed something strange. The disappearances only happened on foggy nights, and everyone who vanished was last seen walking into the mist. Then one night it was my turn. I left work late, the streets empty. The fog had settled in again, so thick I could barely see my own feet. My phone's GPS glitched, the signal cutting out. I turned a corner, and he was there. A tall figure stood in the distance, barely visible through the mist. Not moving, not breathing, just watching. I stopped, my heart hammering. "Hey," I called out, my voice sounding wrong in the thick air. He tilted his head. Then, slowly, he stepped forward. I backed away. Something about him was off, his limbs too long, his movements unnatural. Then I heard it. A low, distorted whisper coming from the fog itself. Not words, just sound, like the air itself was trying to speak. I turned and ran. The fog thickened, swallowing the streetlights, stretching the road longer than it should have been. The whisper grew louder, and then footsteps behind me, fast. I didn't look back. I sprinted for my apartment, keys slipping in my sweaty hands as I fumbled at the door. The footsteps stopped. I turned, gasping for air. Nothing. Just fog. Just silence. But on the sidewalk where I had just been standing, there were wet footprints. I barely slept that night. And in the morning, the fog had lifted. Everything looked normal again. Except for one thing. The news reported another disappearance. And the last security footage showed them walking into the fog. I don't go out at night anymore. Not when the mist is rolling in. Because sometimes when the fog creeps down my street, I hear it again. That low whisper moving through the air. And I know he's still there, waiting.
Alright, so you just landed a job as the night security guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. First off, bad choice. Second, it's too late now, so you better listen up. Those animatronics, they're not just old, broken down robots, they move. And if you don't play your cards right, you're gonna end up as a human pizza topping inside one of their suits. Here's how to make it through 5 nights without becoming Fazbear food. Number 1, cameras are your best friend, but don't overuse them. You've got security cameras and you need to use them, constantly. But here's the thing, if you're staring at them too much, you're wasting power. And trust me, you need that power. The cameras won't stop the animatronics from moving, but they'll help you track where they are. If Freddy's on one side of the building and Bonnie's on the other, You'll know which doors to keep an eye on. Prioritize checking Pirate Cove. If Foxy starts peeking out, you're already in trouble. Number 2, power management is survival. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza apparently has the worst budget ever because your power is ridiculously limited. Lights? They drain power. Doors? Oh yeah, those suck up juice too. Even checking the cameras too often can put you in a bad spot. If you run out of power, you better start praying because once the lights go out, Freddy's coming for you, with this creepy little jingle and all. Number 3, know your animatronics. Each one of these nightmare-fueled machines has its own personality. Bonnie loves to hang out on the left side. He moves a lot, so keep an eye on him. Chica comes from the right side. She's sneaky, so if she's close, shut that door fast. Foxy chills in Pirate Cove until he doesn't. If you don't check on him enough, he'll sprint down the hallway and end your shift real quick. Freddy is the worst. He doesn't move like the others. He lurks, he waits, and when the power's low, he's already in your office, watching. Number 4, the doors are your last line of defense. Your doors are the only thing keeping you from a bad time, but you cannot just keep them shut all night. Power drains too fast. Only close them when you know something is outside. If you hear footsteps, check the lights. If you see an animatronic staring into the camera like they want your soul, get ready to hit that door button. Number 5, audio cues are everything. Don't just rely on the cameras. Your ears will save you. Footsteps, distant groans, or Foxy sprinting, that's your early warning system. If you hear metallic clinking, someone's moving. If everything suddenly goes too quiet, that's bad. Freddy likes to move when you're distracted. Number 6, Foxy is the wild card. Don't forget him. Foxy doesn't play by the same rules. If you ignore him for too long, he'll make a mad dash for your office. You can slow him down by checking Pirate Cove now and then, but not too much, or he gets impatient. If you see him mid-sprint, shut that left door now. No second chances. Number 7, night 3 and beyond, things get worse. The first 2 nights are just a warm-up. By night 3, Freddy gets bolder, Foxy gets faster, and your reaction time has to be perfect. If you make it to night 5, congratulations. You're either a pro or just insanely lucky. And finally, the last step. If you somehow survive all 5 nights, don't come back. Take your tiny paycheck and run. Places like this always have some dark history. If you dig too deep, you won't like what you find. Trust me, nobody makes it out of Freddy Fazbear's without something following them home. So there you have it, your best shot at surviving Freddy and his gang. If you're already in the job, good luck, you're gonna need it. And if you're thinking about taking the job, don't. Just don't.
I always thought the sounds in my walls were just the house settling. Creaks, whispers of wind, maybe a stray mouse. But then I looked inside the vent, and I saw his eyes staring back. It started a few weeks after I moved into my new apartment. It was a great deal too great. Spacious, cheap rent, newly renovated. The landlord seemed eager to get someone in fast. "I'll even cover your first month's utilities," he'd said with a tight smile. I should have known something was wrong. The first night I noticed it. A faint scraping sound coming from the air vent near my bed. I told myself it was nothing. The heating system, pipes, anything but what it really was. But every night the noises got worse. Scratching, shuffling, and then one night breathing. I tried to ignore it. I really did. But then I started waking up to things being moved. Small things at first, my keys not where I left them, my phone charger unplugged. Then, one morning, I found my fridge door wide open. And the worst part? There were dirty footprints on the kitchen tile. I called my landlord. "Someone's been in my apartment," I said, barely keeping the panic out of my voice. He sighed. "Listen, if you want to break the lease, I understand." That caught me off guard. Wait, what? Silence. Then, quietly, he muttered, "Check the vents," and hung up. I stood there, my phone still in my hand, my stomach twisting. Check the vents? I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. But I had to. I grabbed a flashlight and climbed onto my bed, kneeling in front of the air vent. My hands trembled as I unscrewed the cover, my breath coming in short, sharp bursts. I hesitated, then aimed the flashlight inside. For a second, all I saw was darkness. Then eyes, staring at me. I screamed and fell off the bed. The vent cover clattered to the floor. Something moved inside the wall. I scrambled to my feet and ran for the door, but just as I grabbed the handle, I heard it, a voice. Raspy, low, "Don't leave me." I ran anyway, straight out of the apartment, down the stairs, and into my car. I drove until my hands stopped shaking. Then I called the police. They found him hiding inside the walls. A man, thin, dirty, wearing the same clothes he had on when they found him. He had been living there for months, crawling through the vents at night, watching me while I slept, eating my food when I wasn't home, coming out when I didn't wake up. The cops asked if I had noticed anything strange before. I thought about the noises, the misplaced objects, and then I remembered something else. Some nights I woke up to my bedroom door being slightly open. I always thought I had forgotten to close it, but I hadn't. He had. I never went back. I let the landlord keep my deposit. It wasn't worth it, but sometimes late at night I still hear it. The soft scraping of nails inside the vents, the sound of breathing, and I wonder, was he the only one?